Hello, the next video focuses on the blob brush tool as well as drawing shapes, expanding objects, um, as well as painting with the live paint tool and then creating shapes with the shape builder tool. So a lot of great little tasks that will aid you in creating your complex vector graphics in Illustrator. The first step is to select the blob brush tool in the tools panel. The tools panel is located to the left, so if you don't see it, it might be underneath the paintbrush tool and one of the hidden tools. Okay, so that's the blob brush tool. Next, in the control panel, modify some options including the stroke color, the stroke thickness, the brush definition from the brush picker menu. So I'm going to go ahead and I like a little thicker stroke here. I'm going to make it 9 point, and then I'm going to change the stroke color to, let's see, change it to this sort of violet color, and then the stroke or the brush definition from the brush picker menu. The brush picker menu, we want the brush definition. We'll go right here to 3. Okay, so we've got that blob brush tool still selected. Paint freehand by dragging on the page. Okay, so I just painted freehand. And select the eraser tool in the tools panel, which is right below. And then we're going to use the eraser tool to edit the vector shape, such as splitting the vector shape into 2 pieces. Okay, so you can tell if you wanted like a thicker blob, you can always see that that turns into a shape. It's no longer a stroke. So if I delete that and I go back to my blob brush, it's always interesting to see that, you know, I can change that here. And then there's the blob. And then if I go to my selection tool and click on it, it's not a one path object. It actually changes it into an actual shape when you use the blob. Okay. And if you double click, the blob brush actually allows you to add different things within there to be more customized to it. So the next thing we're going to do again is to select the eraser tool, and we want to see what happens with that eraser tool. But if you wanted, for example, that to be a lot thicker, you could always change it within that picker, that brush picker area. I could do the 6, go back there. Do some additional things here, slightly different. So here we go. We've got this path, and then we're going to go to the eraser tool and then use the eraser tool to edit the vector shape, such as splitting the vector shape into 2 pieces. Choose the selection tool in the tools panel, select 1 piece. So we're going to use that eraser. We're just going to go right like that. And you see right when I did that, I could even do it again and again. It created different paths, or it chopped these right off into their own little shape, which I think is pretty fantastic. This is kind of stuff that we've always wanted to do in Illustrator that we've really not been able to do in the past. So simple ways of getting after that, do the blogging, the blob tool with the eraser tool. Creates a quick shape, closed path shape easily. So that's kind of a neat thing to focus on. Now we're going to move on to drawing shapes. You can go ahead and move these all to the side. Now that they're all different shapes, you can group them and move them, or just select them all and move them over to the side. We're going to click one of the shape tools in the tools panel, such as the polygon tool. So that can be located under the hidden rectangle tool. That's over here. And what you want to do is set the fill stroke and stroke width for the shape in the control panel. So the fill, I like that fill, but we'll do a different fill this time. fill, stroke, and stroke width. So we definitely want a stroke width. We'll do a dark blue stroke color. Stroke width we'll do 20. Okay, and then click the canvas where you want to begin putting the shape. And then you only click it once. And then what pops up is this little polygon menu. And then for the polygon star and flare tools, click where you want the center of the shape. You know, that's something that I did already, so the center of it will be over here. So I clicked once. I mean, otherwise you can click and drag and it creates the polygon, but if you want to specify the sides and the radius and be a little more specific, then you click once, and I clicked over here, so you'll find the middle of my polygon will probably be in this area. Okay. Enter the options for the shape. For the polygon shape, enter a radius and number of sides. I'm just going to let it just fall to the default and click OK. So there you go. You see that I have the middle where I created that shape initially. I clicked once. It created everything around it. It's got a very thick stroke and my green fill and my navy blue or my royal blue outline. Okay, and then you can see that you've created a shape. So to expand objects, we're going to do the same, something similar to that object. We'll choose the selection tool from the tools panel and click on that shape in the workspace. So I've got the selection tool. I'll click on that shape in the workspace and then choose object expand, object expand. So when you expand, object expand, what ends up happening is when you do the object expand is you can expand fills, stroke, you can specify the object. So for example, if I don't want to expand fill or stroke, you can actually expand your gradient and then change it, change it to a mesh where you can really manipulate the insides of this, which is something that's kind of interesting to know. But go ahead and say OK. And then we've got a few additional points around the stroke where we can touch and manipulate this shape. That's expanded, especially when you go into like the direct selection tool. You can see multiple areas here that you can touch and manipulate. Okay, so before you may not have been able to do as much with a shape that's not expanded. So we're going to move on to paint with live paint. And this one's fun because it allows you to really treat your shapes like you would maybe shapes on a canvas, on a real live canvas. So choose the selection tool from the tools panel and select one or more paths, compound paths, or both in the workspace. So I guess I could do something like I think a star, and then we'll do a second star, and then we'll rotate that second star, put them together. Okay, and then we're gonna select those and we're gonna do object compound path make. So there's our compound path, and he wants us to select one or more paths. Compound paths are both in the workspace. And there we have it. And now we're going to choose object live paint make, object live paint make. Now the great part about this is what it did is it's now allowing us to have different shapes that we can just paint different colors. A live paint group bounding box appears. You can see the bounding box changed slightly when we did that. And then certain properties may be lost in the conversion to a live paint group, such as transparency and effects, while other objects cannot be converted, such as type, bitmap, images, and brushes. So there are some limitations when you use live paint. Next, we're going to choose object expand, object expand, and then set the expand options and click OK to close the expand dialog box. We'll do object, fill, and stroke. We'll just say OK. And then click and hold the shape builder tool to see the select select the live paint bucket tool. This one's kind of difficult and different. I'm gonna have to find it for you guys. The shape builder, where did it go again? Shape builder, not the shaper tool, so we don't want that menu that comes to us again. There goes the shape builder tool. And then you see the live paint bucket tool, not the selection, but the live paint bucket tool. Okay, and then specify the fill color or the stroke color and size you want. So this fill, I'm going to double click. I'm going to actually change it up to a blue. Say OK. And then we also want the stroke set to a color as well. We'll just do this deep purple. Okay, to paint a face, and a face would be considered any one of these new paint areas. Click a face to fill it. So when the pointer is over a face, it changes to a half-filled bucket. Okay, so I believe you kind of have to have it selected first, and then you go to that paint bucket tool, and then you change it, click, 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 click. I want to change that color, and then, like so. I can do every other one or so. And then if I want to change that fill, I can always do that, like make it a little darker for some of these other ones. But it literally took the path and gave us separate areas that are now able to be painted. So that is a really cool feature. Before, we have some problems with overlap and with maybe this side being connected to this side, and then the whole shape itself would then change colors. This way you can choose very specific small little paths and change the colors for all of them. So that is the live paint tool. Now we're going to work with the shape builder tool in the next video.